All right, one of the most important skills that you need to be able to do is to sketch a picture from a word problem, essentially. So let's crank these out. In number 3, it says, Mr. Mabry is watching the EHS marching band practice again. He is standing in the cherry picker at a height of 20 meters off the ground. So a cherry picker is just a crane. And if you've ever been out there watching the band practice, or if you're in the marching band, you might kind of know what I mean. So I'm just going to sketch our crane. And we said that that's 20 meters off the ground. So this is the ground. And that's 20 meters. Okay. He spots a drummer directly in front of him. He is looking at the drummer at an angle of depression of 42 degrees. So this is what's really important, is that the angle of depression comes from the horizontal and not the vertical. So if this is a horizontal line from where Mr. Mabry's eyes would be if he were looking straight out from the cherry picker, he is looking down at an angle of 42 degrees. This is your 42 degree angle. So he sees a drummer, and because I probably can't draw a drummer, I'm just going to put the letter D over that guy. So we know he's our drummer. All right, so he's looking at the drummer at an angle of depression of 42 degrees. He then spots a flute player who is also directly in front of him. He looks down at the flute player at an angle of depression of 35 degrees. Oh no, I kind of wish I had read this whole problem. Let's see, so our flute player is going to have to be over here. All right, there's their flute. I'm going to put an F on top for flute. And that means that this angle is 35 degrees. I know our drawing is getting pretty confusing here, but this is a tough problem. All right, so how far apart in meters are the drummer and the flute player? So ultimately, we're trying to figure out the distance that they are apart. But we're going to really need to break this down into a few different steps. And what we can do here using right triangles is we can figure out how far away the drummer is from the base of the cherry picker. Then we can figure out how far away the flute player is from the base of the cherry picker, and then subtract. So I'm going to do the flute player first. How about that? So we said, I'm going to resketch just the triangle over here, not my amazing drawing. We said that this is 20 meters, and that this angle is 35 degrees, which if you remember, these are going to be complementary angles, and these are going to be alternate interior angles. So really, as the flute player looks back up at Mr. Mabry, their angle of elevation is also 35 degrees. Okay, and we said that we don't need that hypotenuse. We're not asked how far from Mr. Mabry's eyeballs to the flute player. Like, we're not asked about that distance. But we need to figure out this distance here on the ground. So if this is our flute player, I'm going to just put an F there for flute. I'm going to call this X just for that distance. So if you look, we, If you look at our drawing, we can set this up as, again, a trig problem where we are using tangent because we don't know about the hypotenuse and we don't care about the hypotenuse. So the tangent of 35 degrees, we know tangent is opposite over adjacent, so equals 20 over x. We can now rewrite this as x equals 20 divided by the tangent of 35 degrees. Okay, now of course our calculator will do that part. So we're going to type in 20 divided by the tan 35, and we get about 28.563. So 28.563 meters. So that's how far the flute player is from the cherry picker, because really this triangle we just used is the distance from the flute player to the base of the crane that Mr. Mabry is standing on. All right, so we're going to do the same thing now, but with our drummer. And we said for our drummer, this angle of depression was 42 degrees. So if you're the drummer and you're looking up at Mr. Mabry, your angle of elevation is 42 degrees. We know he's still 20 meters off the ground. I'm just going to call this Y. Oops, you can't see what I just wrote. Okay, so 20 meters is how far Mr. Mabry is off the ground. Y is going to be the distance from the cherry picker to the drummer. Okay, so this is really the same type of tangent problem. We could now say the tangent of 42 equals 20 over Y. I can rewrite that as Y equals 20 divided by the tangent of 42. Okay, go to your calculator. 20 divided by tangent 42. The calculator tells us that it's 22.212. So Y equals 22.212 meters. All right, this is such a hard problem, but we're almost done. The last thing we need to think about is just how far apart are the flute player and the drummer. Well, these two distances we found, these are their distances from the base of the cherry picker. So we just need to subtract those and do x minus y to answer the question. So 28.563 minus, and we said 22.212, we get approximately 6.351 meters. So they are standing 6.351 meters apart. And if you go back to your diagram that you drew with me, this is our 6.351 meters.